Welcome to Media Track episode 36. With me is Ashley Rosario, another senior journalist, and this is the program where we look at the big stories of the past week. As you all know, we are in the epicenter of the COVID-19 pandemic, and as of Friday, the day we are recording, we have 206 cases in India itself. Now, the number of global deaths due to coronavirus pandemic has crossed 10,000, and the most deaths so far have been reported from Italy, where more than 3,400 people have died, followed by China with 3,132 fatalities. Now, at least 2,44,500 people are infected with the virus across the globe, and India has crossed the 200 mark on Friday, which is quite serious. Now, we've been in a sense fortunate that we haven't yet been hit by the pandemic, but one doesn't know. Of course, nothing is known about the virus so far, but as you all know, the Prime Minister addressed the nation, and he has introduced a 14-hour Janata curfew on Sunday. That is where he has appealed to people not to come out on the streets, not to go out, and not to hoard on supplies, and also not to cut wages. The government of India has also banned all international flights to India from March 22 to 28. Now, Goa has obviously also been badly hit. Fortunately, we haven't yet reported one single positive case, but we've been badly hit in all the sectors, of course, economic sectors, especially the tourism sector, where 1,000 crore loss is the notional loss we are staring at. And there have been many incidents. Is Goa prepared? Is the country prepared? And for that, now I turn to my colleague, Ashley. What do you make of this whole thing? And now that we are, in the epicenter of it, what are we staring at? What are the challenges Goa faces specifically?
As I have been saying even in our past episodes, there's a lot of talk of what the government and what the health infrastructure and the health sector is doing. But on the ground, we seem to be very underprepared. Number one. Number two, as you pointed out, the Prime Minister's address didn't quite inspire confidence about the measures that the government is taking, because he hardly touched that subject. He only kind of spoke about what impact this whole pandemic is having on the across the globe, the economic problems and stuff like that. And then he comes up with this, kind of a voluntary Janata curfew on Sunday, the logic of which is still
not proven in a sense.
Exactly.
Right. So the other thing that that is a big threat to this whole coronavirus is the amount of fake news out there.
Exactly.
And as you know, Goa was hit by the fake news. It started, if you remember, on Wednesday when there was this news put out that a Norwegian tourist had tested positive, and there was complete chaos and panic, and the health minister Vishwajit Rane first sent out a message to all the media saying one person has been tested positive and he's been quarantined. Then a little later in the day, there was another message that said no, he is not he's not tested positive, and he had another press conference. He withdrew that, and later in the evening, there was the other chaos where the national media reported that Goa's health minister has tested positive. So, there's a lot of fake news, there's a lot of pranksters playing games out there. So that is another big problem that the authorities face in a way.
That's because I think, whatever public outreach that the authorities and the ministers are doing right now is aimed not at fighting or at putting in measures to prevent the pandemic from hitting Goa. the objective seems to be to play the perception game.
Yeah,
You know,
that's right.
I mean, this is not a time to play perception games, because you know it is a real problem.
Yeah.
It is a real problem, and it has been proved that it is a real problem with the problem that Italy is facing right now.
Yeah.
They didn't take things seriously when they had to, and we are following the same path.
Yeah, one of the,
You know?
the things I've been reading up, and there was this interview with a doctor, you know, and a specialist in virology, etc., in the Wire, and he was saying that one of the biggest problems in India is the under testing, and he assumes, at least he's predicting, that at least 60% of our population might be already, you know, positive, and they're just walking around and we would never know.
Yeah, positive in the
So-
sense they are in that
They're
you know,
carriers,
gestation period.
right,
They're
they're
carriers, and the virus
and-
is in a gestation
Yes,
period
that's
inside
right.
their systems. So of course this under testing of India was called out by the New York Times, I think, about a
Yeah,
week ago.
yeah.
Because you know, I think at the international level, the people that are handling this pandemic,
Oh, yeah.
you know, at that macro global stage, are a little worried that a country of 1.3 billion is reporting such low numbers.
Exactly.
Okay, and in spite of being so close to China,
Yes.
we share a border with China.
Yeah,
Okay, and we do have a lot of trade with China.
that's true.
So I think the experts at the global level, the epidemiologists at the global level, are a little bit worried that a country of 1.3 billion is reporting such low numbers. So obviously it is because of the undertesting. We are like a figure that came out in one report, I think it was by Reuters,
Yeah.
is that India is testing only around 500 samples a day,
Okay.
which is negligible for a country of 1.3 billion.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether they have showed that up in the last 2-3 days after it was pointed out at the international level.
Yeah.
Second, this is at the testing stage.
Yeah.
What if the number of positive cases reaches a threshold
Yes.
which requires, you know, like a
Really, an answer that would be completely proactive, and we should be prepared for
exactly. For example, now let us say take the case of UK.
it. Yeah.
UK is already preparing for that problem.
Yes.
What they have done is they have asked thousands of their retired medics
To come on
come
board.
back.
Yeah, they've asked them to
I mean,
come
nothing
on board.
of that sort is happening in India. You
Well,
know?
one doesn't know really, you know, what it is. You know, only when it hits us will we know
But
whether
that-
we are
when
in a
it does
position
hit,
that is true.
When it does hit, we won't be able to manage it. You know?
So we have so many other, you know, we now have a statement from the Archbishop, and he has said that the faithful are dispensed from the obligation of participating on Sundays and holidays of obligation. So, you know, churches, temples, everybody has had to react in this way. And then we also have the case of Goa's Zilla Panchayat elections, which are due on Sunday and which
Sunday.
has been postponed by 2 days only. So the question being asked is, does it make sense? You're postponing it by only 2 days. What difference does that make?
Yeah.
So that is the question. So what is the whole logic behind postponing it for only 2 days?
I think the first and foremost, the purpose or the motive of postponing it in the first place is to please the Prime Minister.
Okay.
Okay, it is not to fight coronavirus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the Prime Minister in his address yesterday said 22nd, that is Sunday, we
Yeah.
will have this curfew.
Yeah.
And 22nd is the polling day.
For
So,
the
for,
Zilla
for, for the
Panchayat.
Zilla Panchayat.
That's
So,
true.
so to please the Prime Minister, the Chief Minister has taken this decision.
Yes.
One. Second, what came up in the High Court, because there is one activist from Vasco who went to the High Court seeking a postponement, a directive from the High Court for postponement of the ZP
Okay.
polls.
Yeah.
The government put up this very you know, constitutional kind of a problem, saying that since the term of the previous ZP bodies ends somewhere in this week, they have to complete the election process. So I think a final decision on that in the court would be taking place on Saturday. So we'll have to wait for what the court is saying.
Well, you know, it's not only the tourism sector. I mean, look at the figures we are seeing. You know, economy has been very, very badly hit. In the tourism industry, Goa is looking at 60 to 75,000 job losses, and nationally we're looking at 4 crore job losses apparently only in the tourism sector. Well, it's really you know, it's a huge crisis, and so far the state government has ordered the closure of weekly markets, shopping malls, etc. So this is where we are at now on the pandemic. To move away from that story, which, you know, is sort of weighing so heavily on the public mind, let's actually look at the 1 year of the current BJP government led by Pramod Sawant. And his first year, according to the BJP, has been full of hurdles, and despite that, he's performed well. That is what the BJP is saying officially in Goa. The opposition is saying the first year has been a year of unethical politics, and the MGP says that it was the biggest mistake of theirs that they committed in backing Sawant specifically. Now, a lot of people have actually said that, you know, he had rather large shoes to sort of fill, given that he came after Manor Parrikar, and they said there was this great tragedy and he stepped in. But the fact is that without making any comment on you know, Parrikar, etc., I think he was quite ambitious in wanting to step into a job. He wasn't, in my personal opinion, he wasn't quite able to, sort of competent to handle. What is your view of it? I mean, since you're on the ground, what do you think he has made of this 1 year he has been the chief minister?
Okay, to be fair to him, one part of the BJP's you know, description of his 1 year, the first part, that it was full of hurdles, is true in a sense that if you remember, for nearly a year before that, with Parrikar on bed, the government was virtually paralyzed.
That's true.
Okay, so he did inherit a position which was already full of hurdles.
That's
okay.
True. Yeah.
Number one. Number two, I agree with your personal opinion that, you know, he seemed to be incompetent or lacked experience,
administrative to step into that position so hurriedly also.
But I don't think the alternatives at that particular point of time were any better. Okay. One second, in terms of legislative experience, he was quite experienced equally, because he did hold the position of the speaker for 2 years in this current term. He served 1 whole term as an MLA. So legislatively he did have quite a bit of experience, and as far as his 1 year in office is concerned, hasn't been very you know, spectacular. And full of controversies in the sense that you had this Madhe problem that he inherited, and I don't think he's come out with flying colors on those aspects. He hasn't, but he's afloat. He is afloat at the moment. Don't see him, you know, losing the chair very soon. Because he's very comfortable.
These huge numbers.
He's got these huge numbers, which he has created, by the way.
27. That's true.
In a good way or a bad way.
Yes, I know.
Now, to go for the criticism part of it, what the Congress has been saying, that it has been an unethical politics. But when has politics in Goa been ethical?
I know, that's true.
Okay, so
but you know, actually, yesterday there was a judgment by the Supreme Court in the case of the Manipur minister, and the Supreme Court said that he should be dropped, he should be disqualified. If you recall, there was a disqualification petition against him, and the Supreme Court bench had come down very heavily and said the speaker had to decide that case within 3 months, and 3 months had passed and no decision has been taken. Now, looking in the light of that, I think the Congress has a case now, because they have, taken up the matter of all those 10 Congress MLAs who defected, and there is also the MG party which had filed a case. So that sort of is sitting now heavily on the head of the Goa speaker, and let's see how that would impact the whole Goa political scenario. To move on to another story, is the case of the former Chief Justice of India, Gogoi, Ranjan Gogoi, who has been sworn in as Rajya Sabha member of Parliament on Thursday, and there was this complete public outcry because he has just stepped out of that position as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court just 4 months ago, and he takes on this position. And so there was this, everybody, all the opposition and a lot of big lawyers who practice in the Supreme Court and others have said that this was a quid pro quo for quite a few of the judgments and decisions he has given, when he was pro-government decision. So Gogoi has given this interview to some specific media, and he's talked about judicial independence was threatened by a stranglehold of a lobby over it. So he says that he sort of justified his acceptance of the post, and he said that he will not accept a ministerial berth, nor is he going to join any party. But Ashley, if you recall now, there were these 2-3, first of all was the headline in the Telegraph from Calcutta, which is, usually anti-establishment, anti-government. So their headline said, "Covid, not COVID did it." There was a pun on the president giving him this position, and then they got a notice from the Press Council of India, and they responded, that a day later by putting out this full speech of Arun Jaitley, where he said that, Chief Justices who step down and Supreme Court judges who retire should not be accepting these positions after their retirement. And of course, then there was a petition filed by Madhu Kishwar. Yeah, she filed a PIL challenging the nomination of Ranjan Gogoi to the Rajya Sabha. So that petition is now before the Supreme Court itself. And I thought one of the finest statements was made by the columnist Pratap Bhanu Mehta in the Indian Express, and he said that Justice Gogoi's actions are not simply a case of one bad apple. His actions will now cast doubt on every judgment, on the court as a whole, and every judgment will now be attributed to political motives. Now that's quite a searing kind of
but in this whole thing, I was quite intrigued by this suo motu intervention of the Press Council.
Yes, that's
which is a toothless tiger otherwise, and doesn't raise its head when serious issues relating to the media and its independence are facing our profession. Surprisingly, in this particular case, it has taken a position which actually threatens independence of the media.
True, exactly.
So quite intrigued by that.
And Ashley, on the day we are recording is also the day when another Congress government is tottering or about to fall. On Friday, Kamal Nath, the Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, had to step down. He resigned just before facing a floor test. So what do you think, how do you think this is going to affect the Congress party going further up?
I don't know how it's going to affect the Congress party as such, but it's a bad commentary on our politics in the first place. If you remember, we had a huge, before 1985 or 86, this thing of IRMs and GARMs was a routine affair in Indian politics. And then we came up with that, Rajiv Gandhi came up with that 10th schedule of the constitution where he brought in the anti-defection law. and then there were loopholes in that law which were used and misused and abused by the political setup.
Yeah.
And then we had the Vajpayee government in 2004 or 2003 bringing in an amendment to that anti-defection law, in which it very clearly brought in this provision which said that you want to defect, you resign.
You resign,
face an election, and then come back on the
That's
new party.
true.
But even that is being abused now 20 years from then.
Yes.
Like for example, the thing that I want to point out is that Goa showed the way.
Exactly.
Goa showed the way because when that amendment was brought in 2003,
it was after Goa, after all the defections that were happening in Goa.
But even that amendment, kind of
they've circumvented.
That. Was the first case was Isidore Fernandez, if you remember, in 2003,
yes.
where Parrikar got him to resign,
yes.
and then got him re-elected on a BJP ticket.
Yes. So it's been going on, and now that malaise literally is sort of eating into the whole system. I mean, whoever is in power, whoever has the money to buy these MLAs is the one winning the game.
Yep.
And so one expects that, in this whole confusion of the coronavirus about to hit India, the BJP has so much time to try and bring down another government in Madhya Pradesh, which is literally what's going to happen. And you have Scindia, Jyotiraditya Scindia, who defected to the BJP. They believe that is a huge catch. It is a catch for the BJP, but I don't know in the long run, is it going to be good for the young Scindia to be there where there are already 3 other Scindias, and he might just end up being as some analysts have pointed out, another Varun Gandhi in the BJP, unheard of and sort of totally sidelined. Anyways, to get away a bit from politics, actually there was this story which I thought was a little, it talked of 53 persons who lost their lives in 698 road accidents only in December and January, which is really a huge number. And 27 people died, 14 of them in North Goa, 13 in South Goa, 20 riders, 2 pillion riders, 5 pedestrians. And recently, if you recall, there was a case of a hit and run, those 2 young boys going
at
out.
At Vasco, near Bits Pilani, they were knocked down by a lorry or something.
Yeah. And to come back to another story that has been, making the headlines early in the morning, the 4, people who were involved in the Nirbhaya rape case were hanged at 5 a.m. on Friday, and there was a lot of cheering on one side. But there was also, the International Commission of Jurists condemned the execution of convicts and urged the government of India to abolish the death penalty.
Yeah, but this campaign to abolish the death penalty is on at the international level for a long time.
Yeah.
And this international body of jurists is the one campaigning for it.
Yeah, that's true. Now, to come back to these Zilla Panchayat elections, there was this whole case now of suddenly, Mickey Pacheco coming into the picture and saying that he is supporting the Congress party. Now, that seems rather strange because, he has been hopping from one party to the other. What exactly is going on here?
I think this whole Mickey Pacheco intervention in this Zilla Panchayat elections is to keep himself relevant in that local politics ecosystem. Because I don't think Mickey Pacheco is that great a factor as of now in that Salsette politics, because he's been out of circulation for almost 3 years since having lost. And at a very small local level, he could still make a little bit of impact.
Yeah.
But the more serious thing about this whole Mickey Pacheco episode earlier this week was the manner in which he has defied the authorities.
That's true.
From quarantining him because he was on the same flight
Yeah.
in which that Bangalore woman has been tested positive.
I know, he was coming back from the
Dubai.
Gulf, right?
From
From
Dubai,
Dubai. Was
yeah.
his family also traveling with him?
No, he was alone.
He was alone?
He was alone, yeah.
Okay.
He was alone, and the obvious thing was to quarantine him, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because that woman has tested positive,
Yeah.
and there are still, there were still 6-7 days left of those 14-day gestation period, so if he had, contracted the virus
Yeah.
on that 2-hour journey, okay, while sharing the plane with this woman, then he needed to be quarantined for the balance
And
6
so
days.
they sent the police to his house, and it turned into
They first sent the health department's
yeah, that's
teams.
true.
Yeah.
So on that note, we've run out of time. Thank you, viewers, for watching us, and we hope to see you again next week.